Welcome back to the Holy Hardwood podcast with Pat and Tony. Game 8, Pelicans versus the Wolves. Your Pelicans dropped this one after with a depleted roster tonight. Um, just going to go into the stats here. Brandon Ingram, 24 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. Jordan Hawkins, 14 points, 1 assist, 1 rebound on 2 of 5 from 3. Robinson Earl, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 1 assists. Jonas Valanciunas, 8 points, 6 rebounds. Dyson Daniels, 7 points, 3 rebounds. Matt Ryan chipping in 12 points on 2 of 4 from the 3-point line off the bench. Pat, another ugly one tonight. Kind of the same old with this team, but at the end of the day, with a depleted roster, you couldn't have you know expected too much from this group that hasn't had a lot of time to play together. A guy we signed on Friday, Robinson Earl, being put into the starting lineup with Herb Jones and Zion Williamson being out tonight. So kind of all the same stuff that we've been talking about on previous podcasts kind of reared its ugly head again. But just wanted to kick it over you to see what kind of thoughts you had about tonight's game.
Yeah, I'd say rearing its ugly head is really a compliment, right? That's giving him too much. It wasn't just ugly. It's just it's mutant like. It's horrendous. Um, there's just so many bad things um, building on one another, and it's really just becoming like you know it's just a free for all. It's just one thing leads to the next, right? I mean, I think you mentioned, a guy like Jeremiah Robinson Earl, been on the team for, a couple days at most, thrown into the starting lineup, and I'm pretty sure he already tied Zion's season high in rebounds tonight, so props to him. But again, just an ugly situation. There's really not a whole lot to cover, a whole lot to talk. If you needed another example, again, like you said, a short-handed group with a lot of injuries and other issues going on, but this was a perfect example to see exactly how bad things are, at that 5 spot, and it's just there's really just nothing you can do. There's no way to outplay that. So, um, literally just a game just to throw away the tape. I guess you're thankful that you got out of there without any additional injuries, and you were able to get some of the young guys like Officer Hawkins some extra reps and some additional you know, looks and shots to keep him in rhythm. But besides that, it's a complete flush it game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And once you kind of heard about some of the guys not being in that lineup, it was kind of end of the ball game there. Yeah, you wanted to come out and see this team fight a little bit and show some effort, but like you're saying, it just is a continual trend at that 5 spot, and you can kind of see it bleeding over to some of the team and the rest of the guys. It just is becoming dejecting and everything on that end of the floor, which, like we said, you can't get stops, you can't get out into your offense. And especially with a depleted lineup tonight, it made it, even harder for all the guys involved that were on the floor on that other end.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't even frustrating, right? It was so much worse than that. It was borderline sad. You just how bad some of it is, and it's embarrassing. I mean, it really is. I mean, even besides the stuff that kind of goes under the radar that you have to really look for to see what the problems are, which we've, thoroughly discussed and have went through and described to everybody. But I mean, even simple stuff that your local fifth grader at the YMCA pickup league can do. I mean, it's just disgusting. It's demoralizing. There's nothing positive to say about it, and I just don't think you have to really overthink this one. I think it's just until something is done to change that and to remove that from the situation, I don't really think you can even on a night to night basis really play anybody in this league and expect to win a high majority of games. I mean, it's horrendous. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's just one of those throwaway tape games, and with a younger, more athletic team that we're going to have to go on the road again on Friday, a Houston Rockets team. That's kind of what you got to focus on now, and from there, hopefully, you get Herb, and you don't know if Zion will be back with the birth of his child and all that stuff, but you know, I think just with all the injuries and uh, kind of this defensive stuff, you can kind of see the demoralization of the team, and the effort and all that stuff just isn't there. Piecing all that stuff together.
yeah, it's kind of crumbling from within at this point. You're at a stage now where, in terms of that, you got to really just cut the head off the snake and try to stop the bleeding, man. I mean, obviously it's still super early in the year, but you're coming off three straight losses, and it's not the fact that you've lost; it's the manner in which you've lost it. It's just it's that same running issue is just kind of spiraling out of control, and they really can't get a grasp on it. So, um, if something isn't actively being done in terms of seeking out some additional support and assistance for this roster, then um, I don't really know what else you'd have to see to kind of point you in that direction. So, um, I mean, the saddest thing is, the last 4 or 5 minutes of this game, essentially, you saw a guy like Cody Zeller playing with four two-way guys out there, and those were the most productive minutes at the five we saw all night, you know, by far. So, um, that's how bad that situation has become, and how low the bar is. So, really not much more to say in terms of um, that game. Like you said, another chance on it on Friday, and you're hopeful that maybe you get a couple guys back. But even those guys playing really well and the rest of the roster playing really well, I think you're just going to continue to see a trend where it's just really big runs versus really bad runs, and that's all seeded from that same issue. So, like I said, until that's resolved, I think we're just playing a game by game, um, you know, season, essentially, hoping to steal one here, steal one there, play 500 basketball, and really that's about it. So, um, ultimately, I think your hands are tied, and that's just where we're at, and maybe I'm alone in that sentiment, but it's just, when you watch something over and over and over again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. I mean, that's where they're at. It's just that is just what it's going to be every single night. It doesn't matter who they're playing against. It doesn't matter what the situation is against, because I'd be hard pressed looking around the league. I don't think there's a worse center or five-man rotation in the league in terms of fit. It's I would feel confident shutting my eyes and just blindly accepting and saying I will take anybody else's rotation in the league, and I think it would come out being a better situation, and that's without even knowing who it could be. So, you know, in my mind, you can't really make it worse. So, hopefully, that's something that can be changed in the near future before things get out of hand.
Yeah, and in my perspective on all of this is, you truly see how bad it is on that end, and then just all of that happening, it does bleed over to that offensive end, especially for those guys as well. I mean, you could see that basically just fumbling the ball, trying to get the ball in their hands and get something close to the basket when open. And you can obviously see this is taking a toll on those five guys who are playing in that rotation. And it's just like you said, sad to see and everything. And I'm sure it's so frustrating for everybody else that's involved. And when you can't run a simple guard to center pick and roll defensively, where everyone's having to help so much. And then that's where you saw the Minnesota Timberwolves get those 14 threes in the first half. It's because of that over help. I mean, it's basically target practice at that point for, these guys. And, they're not going to miss too many of those when it's basically, 8 or 9 feet of space. So.
Yeah, I mean that's spot on, and it's just it's not a very complex thing. It is what it is. You can see what it is at face value. There is no hiding it at this point. I mean, that's the ultimate decision. So decisions need to be made, actions need to occur, and something needs to be changed, or this season's not even gonna be able to get off the ground. So that's my hope. You know, hopeful that something can change, but again, it's out of our control, and we just have to sit back and wait and see. But um, got to flush this one, move on to the next one, try to take a game from Houston, a team that's in your division, um, and hopefully get back home, and you're a couple days to a week away from potentially getting some more support, and can hopefully um, you know get you a little bit closer to being back up to full speed and full health. But besides that, I don't think there's any need to beat a dead horse on this one. I think we've about covered everything that's worth discussing in a game like tonight.
Yeah, and just to point on it, just to kind of put an end to this, Pels just need to move on from this one. Get some rest. Get to Houston. Friday is an in-season tournament game. The first one that we're going to be having. So that'll be an interesting thing to see and to watch. And then, like you said, getting back at home for that 6-game homestand where we have a few in-season tournament games. So hopefully we can get this next one and then try to get some momentum while we're at home, while we have some energy from the home crowd, and hopefully getting a few guys back here or there in the next week or so.
Yep, fingers crossed. We'll have to see how it shakes out.
Definitely. And with that being said, this has been the Holy Hardwood podcast with Pat and Tony. Like we said, we'll be seeing you Friday after the game. And always, let's go Pels.